The NFL regular season is starting to wind to a close, which means it's time to start looking forward to the playoff. However, today we are forgetting about the playoffs and jumping forward to the offseason and to the draft. We are kicking off 2024 right with a New Year's mock draft, the first one of the year. Let's get into it with the Chicago Bears at number one. And this pick is getting tougher and tougher as Justin Fields continues to have, I think, a pretty solid season. I think he flashes some crazy plays. I think if you watch the Bears, which is, I know, not something a lot of people do, but if you do, he flashes some crazy plays that he is the only person who could do. However, I still think you trade him, get what you can, maybe a second and some change. I don't think you're getting a first round pick, but I mean, if you could, that'd be awesome. And then you draft either Caleb Williams or Drake May, right? Reset the rookie contract, get cheaper, and just start fresh, right? Start fresh. So I'm going to take Caleb Williams. He's still my quarterback one. He's not quite the generational prospect that I think a lot of people thought he was, and even I thought he was, especially last year. He's cooled off a bit. There's some concerns, but he's still an amazing prospect, and I'd say the second best prospect in this draft, just behind Marvin Harrison. Number two, the Commanders. This is great. This is best case scenario. You want to be sitting here at two over the Patriots because Drake May. I mean, come on. Yeah, Sam Howell, he's flashed a little bit, but there's a reason he's got benched down the stretch in the fourth quarter, right? He's not the guy. I was really holding on hope that he was. He was my second favorite quarterback out of his class, but just not quite it. Not quite it. Patriots at three, and this is like worst case scenario for the Patriots, right? Bailey Zappi, is he your guy? Is he really your guy? I really hope not. I mean, I think it's pretty clear cut that Mac Jones is not the guy. So do you reach on Jaden Daniels? And I do think this is a bit of a reach. Heisman, whatever. You know, a lot of people are bumping him up to a top five guy. I don't have him there, at least not on my board. However, I could definitely see him going there because that's where the QB needy teams are, right? Or do you take a generational prospect in Marvin Harrison? That is really tempting. However, I think today we're going to go with the quarterback. We're going to go Jaden Daniels. And quarterbacks go one, two, and three, which is crazy, but it's definitely a world where it happens. And now, number four, best case scenario for the Cardinals, you get Marvin Harrison. I mean, that's best case scenario. I think if he's not there, you probably look tackle or defender. I mean, you could get your choice of the best defender in the class. Giants at five, and I mean, you need quarterback. Daniel Jones isn't the guy. However, there's no way you can take one here. Next guy up for me is Bo Nix, and I just don't see him going anywhere close to this range. I think he's more of a top 20, top 25 guy, back into the first round. So maybe you trade back up into the first, take a quarterback, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, one of those guys. But here, we've got to shore up this offensive line, maybe the worst in the league. I know the Commanders are right there with you, though. And I'm going to take Olu Fashanu. All right, Chargers at six, and it's either Malik Nabers or Brock Bowers for me. And I love both prospects. I think they're both really, really good players. However, Brock Bowers is just his versatility on offense. Whatever coach comes in, you give them a weapon like Brock Bowers and a quarterback like Justin Herbert. And this defense has flashed at times, right? It looked better now that Brandon Staley's not there, obviously. But then they give up like 70 points to the Raiders. I mean, what? But how much of that was Brandon Staley and how much was this defense? So you look at it like that. Chargers could be dark horses next year. Give me Brock Bowers. All right, Titans at seven. And this is pretty easy. It comes down to either receiver or offensive line. And I think with a young quarterback like Will Levis, he's got to have someone who can create space, someone who can create after the catch. He doesn't have that right now. And that is Malik Nabers to a T. I mean, Just get him the ball. He's going to get open. He's going to create big plays. That's what he does, and that's what this Titans team desperately needs is that big play ability. All right, Jets at 8. This is probably the easiest pick up to this point. It's Joe Alt. Aaron Rodgers, he's old. He's fragile. He needs protected. This offensive line does not look great. Give me Joe Alt. All right, Falcons at 9. And this is another tough one because Desmond Ridder is not the guy. You're going to have a new coach coming in. He's going to want his guy, which is tough. Do you reach on a Bo Nix or, I mean, we'll see after what happens in the playoff. I don't know if J.J. McCarthy will even come out this year. But honestly, just tools-wise, J.J. McCarthy's probably the next guy up. But I still love Bo Nix. I love the way he reads the field, throws accurate, very accurate. And I think he's still the next quarterback, but I don't think you can take him here at 9. So instead, I'm going to take the first defender off the board. And there's a couple of guys that could be. Laiatu Latu, I think Jared Verse, Kool-Aid, Nate Wiggins. They're both in consideration for that. Dallas Turner is probably my last guy in consideration for that. You could maybe throw in like a Drazon Newton. But I think there's definitely going to be some question marks with his size, which, I mean, we're seeing these undersized DTs kind of take over the league, so I'm not sure I agree with that. But instead here, I'm going to take Laiatu Latu. I know there's some injury concerns, a lot of them, but look what happened with like a Jalen Phillips, absolute beast. If everything clears with his medicals at the combine, I think he'll be the first edge rusher off the board. If we see him fall, I think we've got to know that it was the injury. All right, Chicago Bears back on the board at 10, and you got to give Caleb Williams some help. I think that's got to be priority 1. You've got DJ Moore. Now let's get Rome Odunze across from him. That's just amazing. Amazing weapons for Caleb. I think that'll be really good. Raiders at 11. Aiden O'Connell, once again, a quarterback that is just not it. Are you ready to take Bo Nix here? Based off my board, I'm not, but we've pushed up quarterbacks in this draft anyways. Let's just do it. Let's just get your guy. Why not? Why not? We're taking Bo Nix. Which kind of screws the Vikings, but honestly, I think they're going to pay Kirk. I don't think there's any reason not to pay Kirk. I think this team, Kirk has played like an MVP caliber player for 2 years now on this team when he's fully healthy and when the team's fully healthy. I do believe in Kirk Cousins and this Vikings team. That's coming from a Packers fan. So, I'm telling the truth. So instead, I'm going to look defense here. Because, this receiving core is amazing. You hit on Jordan Addison, who, not to brag, was my wide receiver 1 last year. But instead, I'm going to look defense. And, there's some question marks at edge, right? Are you going to be able to bring back Danielle Hunter? Don't know. So I'm going to take Jared Verse here. Second edge off the board. Actually, second defender off the board, I believe. Still no corner has gone, which is a little concerning. Saints at 13. You'd like to go quarterback. I don't think there's another first-round quarterback in this class, personally. Instead, we could look Drazon Newton. You just took Brian Brazee last year. But, it's all right to double up on the defensive interior, in my opinion. You could also look edge, like a Dallas Turner still on the board. Or you could go offensive line. I'm going to go edge, and I'm going to go Dallas Turner here. He's not little, he's undersized. However, he just wins. He just finds ways to win. He is very fun to watch. And Drazon Newton continues to fall. All right, 14 with the Broncos. It looks like this pick is quarterback, no matter what now. Russell Wilson got benched. This has absolutely blindsided me. But I just don't know why they do that in this class. Like, who are you going to take here? You literally cannot take any of these guys right now. Like, no. Just no. So, that's beyond me. But because of that, we're going to have to go another position. You're going to have to figure out quarterback. Like, you're going to have to pay someone, I don't know who, Joe Flacco, to come save your team. Or maybe the Russell Wilson contract gets figured out. I don't know, but it's not looking good. So instead, I'm going to take the first corner off the board. I'm going to take Kool-Aid McKinstry, pair him up with Patrick Surtain. That secondary is suddenly looking really, really scary. I mean, you've got two elite corners for the foreseeable future. All right, Seattle Seahawks. This is a tough team to draft for because they've kind of got most things figured out, right? They can go kind of wherever they want. One pick I really like for the Seahawks, though, is actually finishing off the secondary with Cooper DeJean, right? You've really went heavy on the secondary the last few years, and you've hit. I mean, Tariq Woolen was a huge hit. This last year, Devon Witherspoon. You could use another safety, though, and I think that's where Cooper DeJean fits best. So that's one thought. Or you could shore up the offensive line, or you could go edge, or even defensive interior. You've had some guys step up. Um, I think I'm gonna go. I really like Chop Robinson as well here because he's kind of a high upside guy who wouldn't have to come in and start right away, which I don't think the Seahawks really need an edge rusher to come in and start right away. But instead, I'm gonna mix it up. I'm going Cooper DeJean, finish off the secondary, and make it one of the most scary young secondaries in the league. And potentially, you've just got your secondary set for the next 10 years. That's crazy. The Bengals at 16. This is an interesting one, but I think this is where I stop the slide of Jer'Zhan Newton. Um, Although this offensive line still has so many issues, and actually there's some really good ones still on the board. Give me my next guy up, J.C. Latham. Man, you got to protect Joe Burrow. You just have to. He got injured again, and this is just you spent money on it in free agency, and it's still just not great. All right, all right. Cardinals back on the board. We took Marvin Harrison Jr. up top, and now we're in a prime position to take Jer'Zhan Newton, and I love it. I love the value here. I think he's a great player, if undersized. Pittsburgh Steelers, Nate Wiggins. Easy Nate Wiggins. Secondary struggled. You got Joey Porter Jr. moving forward. Second round pick last year. This year, let's address it in the first. Give me Nate Wiggins. All right, tough spot for the Packers, I think. Um, do you want Amarius Mims? I think he's, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he's more right tackle. Talisa Fuaga definitely is. And you've kind of looked good at right tackle now. Like the Packers have kind of solidified that position. Maybe still some questions at left tackle, but not really anyone here who could do that. You could go interior, right? I mean, Elton Jenkins getting up there. I don't like that either. Um, could go secondary. That's the next need. I think corner and safety both pretty big needs, but more so safety for sure. And I'm gonna take one. I'm gonna take Tyler Nubin out of Minnesota. Bit of a weird pick, definitely a reach. I think he's much more of a back end of the first kind of guy. But just to mix it up, give me Tyler Nubin. All right, 20 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is another one that's kind of a tough spot. Oh wow, they took quarterback off of their needs after Baker's went off. That's kind of funny. That's really funny, actually. Here, I'm gonna go. Where am I gonna go? I'm gonna go best player available. I'm gonna go Chop Robinson. Help out this defense. You've got some guys on the edge, but you don't have the guy on the edge. And Chop Robinson has that kind of upside. The Colts at 21. Yeah, I think we got to help out our young quarterback either with offensive linemen or a receiver. And you know what? There's one really good receiver who completely forgot about because stupid PFF moved him way down the board. Keon Coleman. Big body, contested catch kind of guy. Um, Anthony Richardson's got the arm for it. So give me Keon Coleman. All right, Jacksonville at 22. And they desperately need an interior offensive line. But, I'm going to go defense, and I'm going to go corner with a guy who's risen up a lot of boards. Terrion Arnold out of Alabama, looking like the corner three now. All right, 23, the Rams. Wow, where have the Rams come from? They're now picking at 23 instead of like 7. This is crazy. What a rise. What a rise. But I definitely think offensive line needs help, and I definitely think Amarius Mims is extremely talented. And that's what you need, talented football players on this team. on a roster that really doesn't have all that much talent, but oh my goodness, they have just exceeded expectations, playing their guts out. I love to watch it. Absolutely love to watch the Rams play. Give me Amarius Mims. Stop his slide. The Bills at 24, and I definitely like going receiver here. Gonna lose some guys. Also, Talisa Fuaga's got to be on the board. These tackles have not been great for Josh Allen, and actually, I think that's where I'm gonna go. All right, Kansas City, another team whose tackles have just not been very good this year. But while that is a thought, you got to go receiver. I mean, you think about it for like a split second, and you're like, no, I need a receiver. I need a guy who's just going to get open and catch the ball. There's no one better than Emeka Ibuka in this class. He is just such a consistent player. He's going to get open. He's going to catch the ball. Great hands. I love the pick. I think it's a perfect fit, and I really hope it happens. I think Emeka will actually be gone way before this, but wide receivers have kind of fallen down this draft. So there you go. All right, Eagles at 26. This is interesting. I don't even hate the idea of taking an offensive lineman here, tackle, potentially. Sure up a need before it becomes one. Or you could pick up a wide receiver three, give you someone outside of Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. And that's where the value is right now with Brian Thomas Jr. There's some other guys I believe on the board I wouldn't hate taking here. Troy Franklin I really like. Xavier Leggett. Probably be the only guys on that list. But I'm going to take Brian Thomas here out at LSU. All right, Lions at 27. This could be where Graham Barton comes off the board. And I wouldn't be mad. He could play any interior spot for you. Although this offensive line, I don't know why they've started struggling all of a sudden. This is a really good offensive line, I think, but they've kind of struggled this year. So I'm going to take Graham Barton. Get younger, get cheaper on the offensive line, wherever you need to plug and play him. I'd rather be interior or you want to try him out at one of the tackle spots. All right, Texans at 28. And man, CJ Stroud, he's done a lot with not a lot of weapons here. He's turned Nico Collins into one of the best receivers in football. What? CJ Stroud is a beast. But here, I'm going to give him an actual receiver, right? Have Tank Dell and whoever we pick here going forward, and it's going to be Xavier Leggett. All right, Dolphins. Yeah, it's got to be offensive line. Would have loved to take Graham Barton here. Instead, I'm going to go with another guy who could potentially have a similar career path. Where there he is, Troy Fautanu. Whether you think he's tackle, whether you think he slides in, doesn't matter. All right, Cowboys at 30. This is an interesting one. Leonard Taylor, I feel like he's more of a second round pick. There's not a lot of production from him. The traits are there, the upside's there. Maybe you take a chance on that, but it's not a ton of production. Instead, I'm looking corner. Kamari Lassiter's interesting, but I think, let me see if I can find him. Yes, Quinion Mitchell out of Toledo, another one of those hot risers. Kalen King has fallen really far on their board. I don't think he's fallen quite that far. However, I do think he's more of a late first, early second kind of guy. But I mean, people had him like top 10, like over Kool-Aid at the beginning of the year, and that's just wild. All right, Quinion Mitchell for the Cowboys. 49ers, this has got to be offensive line, I guess. I mean, particularly tackle, getting old. Trent Williams, you're getting old, man. So we're going to go with an actual tackle this time, not a guy who's going to move around. Give me Patrick Paul. And wow, we've taken a lot of offensive linemen in this draft, but offensive line play has not been very good this year around the league. Final pick with the Ravens. Definitely like going receiver with this pick. Definitely not quarterback. Lamar is probably the favorite for MVP right now, I'd say. I'm going to take Troy Franklin out of Oregon. He's definitely my next guy up. And there we have it. It was a fun draft, first one of the year. And I think we did pretty good. I think wide receivers fell a little too far. Maybe a few too many tackles were taken. I mean, at the end here, Patrick Paul. That's a guy who's definitely more of a second rounder for me, but I do think he could end up moving up. And that's where the needs are. So, anyways, tell me how you guys think I did, and Happy New Year.